everybody. This is Kyle Schiffert with the Hometown Pipe Dreams podcast. Here in Kyle, the Animal Steele's man cave, studio, lair.
Call it the Eagle's Den.
The Eagle's Den.
The Eagle's Den.
All right. So, Kyle Steele has been with us for a long time to Back Out Productions. He is a sound guru, okay? He is a musician. He's a producer. He records dialogue, makes Foley sounds for us. Anything you need, Kyle Steele can do it. So we're going to be chatting with him today and finding out a little bit about what he does, if anything. I don't know.
I don't do that much.
But when I got here today, he was jamming on his keyboard and letting me listen to, what was the band? Moonroof.
Yeah.
Moonroof, a local band from Philly. So shout out to those guys for picking an awesome producer. And handsome at that.
Oh,
so
you flatter me.
So, first question, okay? This is going to be the first question always, okay?
Okay.
Your hometown, since we're talking about people, fulfilling their dreams, finding their aspirations in their hometown, where do you consider to be your hometown? Now, it doesn't need to be where you were born. Doesn't need to be where you're living now, but what do you consider to be your hometown?
I consider it to be the whole Lehigh Valley. Because I'm not... I live in Schnecksville right now. But, Schnecksville is a little tiny hole in the wall town. There's not a lot going on here. So, kind of had to branch out into the greater, Lehigh Valley area. So when I was playing with my band, we were called Paint the Town Careless. We sucked. We were playing at Croc Rock. We were playing at Planet Trog. And we played at, a bunch of other places that weren't even in the Lehigh Valley, but kind of around here.
First of all, Paint the Town Careless does not suck. I still have songs in my computer that I listen to this day. I saw them at Croc Rock, and they were awesome. I'm still trying to get them back together, but I don't think it's ever going to happen.
I don't think the reunion tour is in the works. I got to convince the rest of the guys.
So, Lehigh Valley, and I think that I can probably say the same. We drift in and out of the Lehigh Valley, and you just revealed the place of your hidden lair, by the way, so there'll be girls knocking on the door by the tomorrow night. Whoops. So no, you can curse on this thing.
Time to move.
Oh. So anyway, so what is it really that drew you to music in general? I mean, is there anything in the Lehigh Valley that sort of inspired you, or was it outwardly, or?
It was I was listening to music when I was younger. I was in high school, and everybody goes through that phase in high school where they listen to shitty music. But I was listening to a band called 4 Years Strong, and I was just listening to it one day, and I thought, damn, like I really want to be a part of something like that. And so I ended up getting a bass and starting to play, and the rest is history.
All right, so tell us a little bit about that history. So you had Paint the Town Careless. You played bass.
I played bass for Paint the Town Careless. I started on the bass and started playing for Paint the Town Careless. And I guess we started practicing like the end of our junior year of high school, but we didn't really start playing out until our senior year of high school. And then I did that through the beginning of college, freshman and sophomore year of college. But I went to college for music where I learned to play upright bass. I'm not as good at that anymore because you got to really keep up with that. But so I went to Bloomsburg for audio recording, and that's a music degree. So I was playing and recording, and then I just recently got out, and I've been kind of floating around doing my thing. And now I'm working at a church. I'm doing live audio for the church. That's fun.
Awesome. Yeah. So here's a question. Do you prefer being in a band, or do you like being on the production side of things?
Playing with the band was a lot of fun, but production, if I had to pick one for a living, it would be doing production stuff. So whether it's live sound or studio recording or writing or whatever. I prefer a little bit to be behind the scenes. I think the only way I would try to make a living off of playing now is if I was in a band that I like really, really wanted to be in. And I'm a pop punk guy, so it'd have to be a pop punk band. Something like The Story So Far, Knuckle Puck, something in that vein.
They're still floating around. Those pop punk bands.
Yeah, they are. They're not as big as they were in the 2000s, but it's a little different now. Like the style of pop punk is different, and I think it's pretty good.
Well, what's your favorite band now? Like pop punk band? Is there a modern one that you listen to?
Yeah, well, like I said, The Story So Far and Knuckle Puck are two of my favorites. I've also been listening to Neck Deep. Their newer stuff. I didn't like their older stuff that came out like 2012. I didn't like that so much, but their newer stuff's really good. I'm trying to think who else. Such Gold has some cool stuff. I just found this band recently called Belmont, and they're cool. They have some really awesome stuff if you're into that. So those are kind of like my top 5 right now that I've been listening to.
Cool. Are they like local guys or are they national?
Oh no, they're all over the place.
They're all over the place.
Yeah, there's not too many from the Lehigh Valley.
No, pop punk is dead in the Lehigh Valley.
In the Lehigh Valley, yeah.
They've died with Paint the Town Careless.
Yeah, pop punk died with Paint the Town Careless. It didn't have that good of a life, but it tried.
So, favorite instrument?
I gotta go with the bass.
Bass.
Yeah, it's the main instrument I play. But I can kind of fake guitar and I can fake keys a little bit, but I gotta say electric bass. I like playing that the best.
All right.
Yeah.
So, let's talk a little bit about being on set. Now, on set, you are the sound mixer, the guy holding the boom mic.
Yep.
Okay. So, how does that compare to your other experiences? I mean, I know that we've kind of plucked you from your happy home, in the production side of things and being in a band, and we're like, here, run around the woods with us and record these people saying this crazy shit.
Yeah, it's a good experience. It's fun. I told you I went to school for sound, for audio recording. So I was always like a studio guy. I knew what was going on in the studio really well. And so then I got a job at Bloom. It was in the theaters, so I did a little bit more live sound stuff. And that was cool. But both of those are just totally different than being on set. Because the big thing is you got to move the mic around. So you got to be holding the mic and moving it where it has to go. And you don't do that in the studio. Like, you set the mics up and then you let the performer do their thing. But like on set, you're up and you're moving around and you got to try to catch all of it. And plus then you're out in the woods, and I like being in the woods. I kind of grew up in the woods. I was a Boy Scout, and I used to do a little bit of hunting here and there. So I grew up in the woods, and that's fun.
Well, I mean, some of the other things that Kyle will bring up is the fact that there are a ton of other outside noises.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like with the last shoot we did Scrambled, and there's I don't know if you told them anything about Scrambled, but it's a horror short, and it took place out in the woods. So we're out in, where is that cabin again?
It's in Hickory Run State Park, which is near a small town near Albrightsville, but better known in the area is Jim Thorpe. It's about 20 minutes north of Jim Thorpe. Yeah,
so we're out there, and the turnpike runs not that far away from the cabin.
Right.
So you have to kind of contend with the sound of the turnpike when you're trying to record the audio, and it's really hard to kind of find a position where you can point the mic away from the turnpike. Lost the word there for a second.
That's okay.
But yeah, you got to try to find a position where you point the mic away from the turnpike so you can kind of minimize how much of that you're catching. And I mean that's just one of the struggles. Sometimes when you're shooting on location, you get a room that's just noisy, and there's a lot of white noise in the audio that you can't do anything about. While you're there, you can do things about it in post, but sounds of like birds and stuff, and like I said, roads, that kind of stuff. You just got to really be aware of this, of how the room or how the space that you're in sounds.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's taking Steele away from the studio, which has, the padded soundproof walls and, sort of this contained area, and taking him out there and, giving him our equipment, which is sort of bought on a budget, he really made it work, and we figured out some tricks and around it. And recently we bought a better mic, and it seems to have solved
that made
all of our problems.
Made a world of difference. Good equipment. There's just not enough to be said for it. If you just have, I mean, you can do really good sounding stuff on budget equipment, but when you have like nice gear, it just does the work for you.
Yeah, absolutely. We were just talking before he came in. I'm editing right now, and I do some of the sound cleanup, and then I'll kind of send the big chunk over to him and have him kind of do the final once over, and it's really cleaning up nicely. You can get that noise out when you have nice, clear, crisp dialogue. There's a program we use called Isotope Rx, which clears out all that noise.
It's excellent.
Yeah,
it's witchcraft. I don't understand it. Like, whoever made Isotope RX should just be burned at the stake, because I don't know how they did it, but it's incredible.
It really is. You highlight the noise you want to take out.
It like analyzes the noise, and then it just takes that out from the entire clip. I don't get it. It blows my mind every time.
The only problem is if you push it too hard. Like, if the dialogue isn't clear enough. Yeah,
it'll start to break up a little. It'll get a little... you get artifacts from it, and I don't exactly know how to describe what they sound like, but when you hear it, you know.
It kind of gets robotic.
Yeah.
It sounds a little robotic, and that was our problem. We use a Rode mic, and we used to have the NTG2, which is kind of like a...
more budget.
Yeah, it's like a $300 mic, and then we moved up to the 3, which... is actually a $700 mic that we bought for $400 on eBay. So, it made a world of difference, because you're just grabbing a lot more, and we were buying mixers and all kinds of stuff to try to improve that sound, and it ended up being just spending a couple $100 extra dollars on that better mic. So, I felt like we should talk a little bit about your experiences with Time to Back Out Productions, since he's pretty much a card-carrying member at this point. So.
Well, the other big thing that's different with doing on-set recording for video, as opposed to doing like live audio or studio recording, is you have to really worry about what the camera can see, because you have to be very careful about not getting the boom into the shot, and that really kind of limits you as to how close you can get into the actors to catch the dialogue. So that's just another thing you got to think about is the boom in the shot, and where can I stand that I can get the boom in the optimal place without it being in the shot.
I can say that we're getting better at it.
Definitely getting better at it, yeah.
The big orange tape on the end of it has helped, but I remember so many times just trying to cover up the boom mic as sticks in Desolation, which was our feature film that we shot a few years ago. And this one, there's been very few. Mm-hmm. Like, the other thing that you don't think about when you're starting out is shadows. Like, the shadow of the boom mic sort of coming in, it looks like this, hot dog or whatever, flopping around in there.
Creeping up.
But there's definitely a lot more to think about, and he's really risen to the challenge. If I'm being honest, Kyle Steele here, figuring all that out. So
but you do have the opportunity, if you don't get the best sound for a scene, you do have the opportunity for ADR, which is good. So ADR, when you have the actors come in after the scene is shot, or you even just do it on location if you need to. But and they just say their lines over again, and then you just dub their lines in over the scene where they should be, and hopefully it all lines up right, and you can cut it to fit and stuff. But that's a lifesaver if the audio doesn't turn out great for a scene, which happens occasionally. So the room could be noisy, or there could be some kind of sound you didn't notice in the scene before that ruins it. Okay, we'll just ADR. That's okay.
Yeah, it is tough. Some actors are really good at it, and some actors are awful.
Really bad. Oh yeah, it's incredible how bad some actors are at it. But
I won't say the bad ones, but I remember Josh. He wasn't really an actor when we first started. Actually, Steele was in Desolation.
Yeah, I was.
And because our actor that was supposed to show up didn't show up, and we put Steele in there, and he did a good job. But we had a lot of people in there that weren't actors, and Josh was one of them. And Josh is like one of those guys that is really annoying because he does everything really well.
Oh yeah.
Like no matter what it is, like he's good at everything. And his ADR was like perfect. Like we'd give the actor like the clip of whatever the line is, and it would be the best we could get it so they could hear it. And you go, okay, repeat it. Like you have to pause at this certain moment and this and that, and
So just say it back exactly the way you heard it.
And he was like perfect.
Yep.
Like I didn't need to cut it. Like sometimes you cut the line in half and just stretch it a little bit, or he was like, I just lined him right up. So yeah, he was.
Nick
the
Naro's
best.
was really bad though.
Well, I didn't want to say.
No, his was terrible.
Oh, sorry, Nick.
Good guy, terrible at ADR.
But so anyway, yeah, that's Kyle Steele working with Time to Back Out Productions. Now, the other thing that he kind of learned how to do in the process, which I don't know if he's had much experience with, is creating soundtracks, creating the score.
Yeah.
So, how did you feel about starting all that?
It was good. It was fun. I mean, I like writing music. Right now, I do a lot of like kind of relaxed hip hop stuff. I just really like that medium. But I'd never done like really a lot of film scoring before, and so I was just kind of flying by the seat of my pants. Just try stuff out, see if it works. If we like it, keep it. If we don't, that's fine. You move on, try something new. But I think I really I learned a lot about. The first thing I learned, the first big thing I learned is that it doesn't need to be very complicated. That's just not. If the scene doesn't call for a complex score, then don't do that. And you talk with the directors and stuff, and they're really kind of in charge of what you do, but and they'll decide that. But a lot of times, like just like one note on like kind of like one note on a pad will do it for a scene, and that's fine. If that's all it takes, then that's all it takes.
The other thing is Steele's worked with us pretty much, I wouldn't say exclusively, but you've done a lot for us.
Yeah.
And we do a lot of thrillers and, things that sort of need those dark undertones and, it's not like Seinfeld, comedic, type of stuff. So, it would just sort of be the tone going in the background or tones at, particular places, or we'd have to go, okay, 1 minute in, you need to put this, particular sound in. And when he first started, he was creating it like he would a song.
Yeah.
And we were like, no, take half of that out.
Yeah.
Like, this is like way too much going on in the song. People are going to be paying attention to the song and not to the scene. It's supposed to highlight the scene rather than...
Because I was used to writing songs like, just like you start, if you're trying to write like a hip hop beat, you get some drums. You might not do it in this order, but you get some drums, you get a good groove going on the drums, you get a bass line, and you get, your chords or, your kind of samples or whatever you're going to put on top of that. And you have these three elements that are always there. And it's not like that for film scoring. There's, there's not always just these three elements that are going to go in right away. You got to kind of feel it out and see what it needs.
Yeah.
So it's different. It's a lot different.
What was it you always wanted to put? Was it maracas? Or
shakers.
Shakers.
Shakers are great. I don't know why you don't like shakers.
We did put it in a few. There was like a chase scene or something in Desolation.
Oh, yeah.
We put the shakers in there.
They work for a lot of stuff.
They do, but not when you're having like a dark, serious...
No, they don't.
Scene.
They don't. You're right. Live and learn.
All right. So back to the what you're really trying to do, which is a music producer. Mm-hmm. So far, greatest accomplishments. What do you think?
Finishing Desolation was big. That took a long time.
Yeah, it did.
That took forever. What else have I done? I've done a lot of good stuff with the band I told you about earlier, Moonroof. I did. It wasn't a full album, but right at the end of when was it? It was like a year and a half ago. They put out it was probably like an EP length. Okay. Like 6 tracks maybe.
Sure.
And they did that, and that sounded really good. So working with them was a good accomplishment. Like finishing that up, and they had a lot of really good sounding stuff on that I was proud of. Other than that,
I mean, you built a kick-ass studio down here.
Oh yeah. If you want to talk about that.
I mean, yeah, talk about some of the gear that you have down there. You're proud of these speakers that if Jamie listens to this, we can really rub it in. One of my coworkers wanted these speakers that Steele got at a yard sale.
Didn't he like drive down here to see them and I'd already bought them?
No, he got a call. One of my other coworkers lives down the street and he let him know, hey, these speakers are for sale. And then he turned around and, we all kind of know each other. And he saw Steele driving by with them in the back of his truck. And he's like, oh, never mind, Jamie. So I came into work on Monday and he's like, hey, your buddy Steele stole my speakers. So
these are actually great speakers. They're really more like home theater speakers. I don't know if you can see them. You can see this one in the shot. Can you? Do you know?
I can hear. You know what we can do?
Yeah.
We can do whatever the hell we want. Here, I'll pan over for you. All right.
Yeah.
So here is the studio.
Yeah.
You can't see much of this one over here, but in the background there, behind the eagle lamp.
Yeah. Yeah, and the cool thing about it is they're only like 2 inches thick or something, but they have this really just kind of big sound. And they're from 1979. They're Magnaplanar MG1s. And the guy I bought them from had like all the paperwork for him. And he was trying to get rid of them, I think, because there's too many speakers. And so I bought them from him for like $100. And I was like, if they sound good, that's fantastic. And if they don't, well, I only spent $100 on them. I can probably unload them for that. But they're from 1979. Like I said, they're really more like home theater speakers, which is why I have these JBLs here on the inside of them. But the big thing with the Magnaplanars is that they have a kick-ass stereo image. So like I'm sitting here and listening to something, and it's very easy to like really just pick out where in the stereo field everything sits, which is really cool because a lot of speakers, I think, they don't give you that as well as these do.
So describe the stereo field. I mean, don't get too technical, but just kind of a basic knowledge of what you're talking about.
Well, with audio, you have two channels that make up the sound. They give the right and the left ear, and so you can kind of move things around in between them to make them sound like, I have all the way over here on my left, I have all the way over here on my right, and then I can make things sound like they're anywhere in between that by kind of balancing them between the speakers.
Okay. And
when you're mixing, it's really beneficial to kind of put things in different spaces in the stereo field because you can pick them out. Like, I might have two guitars thrown all the way out, and I'll have the vocal in the middle, and then I'll have the drum set kind of panned in between, like, toms kind of go around you, so you have the toms going, kind of sideways through the stereo field.
Sure.
And that's just one example. You can place whatever you want anywhere in the stereo field, and it's something that you have to really learn how to take advantage of.
So you want your speakers to be balanced, so when you're putting the different instruments at the different places,
it's just helpful that they give you this really nice stereo image. That these speakers give you that because it really allows you to kind of fine tune where you want everything.
Right.
And that helps create like separation in the mix so you can hear each individual element.
So in layman's terms, it's giving you a more accurate reproduction of what you're putting in the computer. Because, the other thing that everybody needs to understand is that the people that, either produce audio or video, like I edit video a lot, I need to get a better monitor for my video so it looks more accurate as to, what I'm actually editing. And the same goes for sound, is if your speakers aren't giving you the what you're putting into the computer, you're not getting an accurate read of what you're doing. And then once you put it into other mediums, it's not going to work out.
I think one thing a lot of people might not think about is that speakers sound different. Like different speakers, they just sound different. If you're not if you're not like listening to audio in a professional way or like really analyzing what you're hearing, then you might not notice it, and that's fine because most people don't have high-end sound systems. But for mixing, you have to be aware of what your speakers sound like. So these JBLs I have here they have a lot more mid-range. They're a lot more mid-heavy, than than the Magnepans that I have, and I have to be aware of that as I switch between the speakers.
Right.
So, it's something that you don't really think about when you buy a pair of speakers if you're just using them to use them and you're not using them for audio stuff.
Right. How loud do they get, and how cool do they sound, and how cool do they look? That's the kind of stuff like when you're younger.
Yeah, and when I'm listening to them, I'm listening to how's the balance, is the are the highs in level with the mids, like where they should be, and I don't listen to bass on the speakers because I have a sub anyway. So, but it's that kind of thing that I'm listening for.
Sure. I can tell you in my experience is I have a good set of bookshelf speakers, and they're decent. They're not the best, and I have a decent Sony mixer, and they do okay. But I thought like a long time ago when I bought my surround sound, it was like a Panasonic kit. I was like, oh, these sound awesome, and then I got like the slightly better setup, and I'm just like, wow, they sound like crap. Like when you I always wondered why people spent like so much money on like a really good surround sound system, and it's like
when you hear it, it blows your mind.
Yeah,
it just puts you like in for surround sound. You're watching a movie. It just like puts you in the scene.
Right.
You just feel like you're there.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
Absolutely, and if I had the money, I'd love to do that
really high end.
Yeah, like in my living room where I'm watching movies. That kind of thing. So
it's You gotta, if you're doing any kind of high end audio, you gotta really think about what your speakers sound like, and then so I have a pair of studio monitors. I have a pair of nice home theater monitors. But if I really want to get a mix sounding good on everything, and you got to think about that because the mix doesn't, since the speakers don't all sound the same, the mix isn't always going to translate onto another set of speakers. So you got to listen to it over a couple different speakers. So if I have a mix and I'm not sure how it's going to sound, then I'll take it over to Kyle's house with his bookshelf speakers and try it out there. Put it in my car, try it out there. Put it in a boombox, try it out there, and you got to really listen to it on a lot of different sets of speakers until you know what it sounds like everywhere.
Same principle goes for video. Usually when I put something on YouTube, I'll watch it on my phone, which is where most people are watching it. And if it looks really dark, because I do have a decent graphics card, and it's not the best monitor, but I have decent monitors to view it, and I'll adjust the color. And if I want that real nice, just barely seeing the character in some instances, once you put it on your phone and it's sort of compressed a bit, that's when you're going to see like, oh, this is way too dark. You can't even see what's going on. Like I need to bring that up because when it's compressed, people can't see it. So it's good to keep that in mind, that not everybody's going to have the same setup as you.
Definitely. Yeah.
So cool. Yeah. So what are your goals here? What's the future for Kyle the Animal Steele?
Goals are just to eat every day. No, I'd like to be able to make a living off of audio. Whatever I end up doing, live sound stuff is where a lot of people are going to make most of their money, and I'm willing to do that. But I'd like to do more studio recording and more film scoring. That's kind of where I want to be. So that's kind of my goal, is to move more in that direction. But how I'm going to do that, I'm not really sure yet. Still figuring it out. And we'll see where it goes.
So if somebody would say like, "Hey, Steele, I need to record my band," like what would be sort of a ballpark figure for like them to come down here and like say like 2 tracks? Like what would somebody pay?
2 tracks. Well, that depends. I'm not set up here to do drums really. I did drums for Moonroof, but they're all fake. They're all the drummer for that band has an electronic kit, and I was like, hey, bring the kit over and we'll run it into my computer as MIDI, and we'll just see how it comes out. And it actually came out really good, mostly thanks to Native Instruments. They have in Contact they have a library called Studio Drummer, I think it is. They have a bunch of drum libraries. There's like a 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s drums one. But I had it in Studio Drummer. And they sound great, and that was just kind of an experiment. I was like, we had a plan to go back up to the studio at Bloomsburg and record their drums there, but that kind of fell through. So I was like, hey, just bring the kit over and the electronic kit, and we'll see what happens. If we don't like it, then we just throw it away, whatever. But yeah, so I'm not really set up to do drum set here. I can do it that way, but I don't prefer to. I like to do real drums. So if you want to do that and you have the kit, the electronic kit, because I don't have the kit, maybe like $75 a track, and that's on the cheaper side for now, just to kind of get some movement through, and put some stuff out. But yeah, I think that's about where I am, about $75 a track right now.
$75 a track.
Yeah.
So
everything else I can do down here, guitars, bass, vocals. I can do that kind of stuff down here, no problem.
What would you need to get up to the drum level?
I need a new interface. I need at least an 8-channel interface, and I'd like to have 16 channels of input. Because I'm looking at right now the Focusrite 18920, I think, for my main interface, and then that'll allow me that has 18 channels of input, so that would allow me to. It has 8 preamps and 18 channels of input, so I can get 8 more pre's, and then go into that, and then I'd have 16 channels. But then you need the mics on top of it, and you need the drum set on top of it, and you need the room, because this room isn't the best room for it. Behind the camera right back there's another room that I kind of wanted to clean out. We have it. We're just using kind of as storage. Maybe use that as a drum booth and see how it works out.
So, in English, I kind of understand what you're talking about, but I've talked to you for a long time. So, preamps and all that stuff. Basically, you need more mics and more room to put them into. Like the channels are basically plugs that you have for your mics. So the more channels you have, the more mics you can plug in. Mm-hmm. And then for each mic you need a preamp, correct?
Yeah.
And the preamp, it boosts the power so that you can get
because the signal coming off a mic is pretty low. It's not enough for the converters to that probably sounds like Chinese. But you need to boost the signal going into your interface so that the computer will be able to read it. And that stuff all costs money.
Sure.
How much money it costs, that's up in the air. You can get cheap stuff, but you really want to get a little bit above the bottom tier, because it just sounds that much better.
Yeah, we're back around to the conversation of buying
budget
equipment.
Buy the best stuff you can afford, definitely.
Right. So do you think that's in the future? Are you working towards that, or is that
Yeah. The Focusrite, the 18920 is about $500, so that's not too bad. And then there's another piece I was looking at. It's by Art, and I've never used anything by them, but they do all this like really budget tube stuff. And that was another 8 channels that I could put into the 18920, so it'd be 16 channels. So I was gonna try that out, and I figured worst case scenario, the tubes suck, and I can just put new tubes in, because new tubes are cheap. So that would get me to 18 inputs for right around $1,000, and that's not too bad.
Yeah, absolutely.
I said 18 inputs. It's 16 inputs. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I think you're speaking Chinese again.
Yeah.
So, so do you have a company yet? Did we come up with a name yet?
I don't think so. I think I'm going with Cold Steel Sound.
Cold Steel Sound.
Yeah, it's a cool name.
It is a cool name.
Or we can go with Eagles Den Recording.
Also a cool name.
But I think Cold Steel sounds better.
Well, and just for a quick background, because this might come up again, and I'm sure it will. There was a picture of Kyle Steele from Desolation, and we posted it online and asked for captions, and one of the captions that came out of it was Cold Steel, and it became a fake movie that we were going to make where he was a 70s, because he used to have big, poofy 70s hair. And he was going to be a 70s cop that shot first and asked questions later.
So, like I do in real life.
It never materialized, but our intern at the time, Ryan Kramer, loved the idea so much that he actually started getting clothes and wardrobe for it. So it's still a dream. And Owen McEwen, who is one of our actors that I'm definitely going to interview very soon, He created a fake trailer for it, an audio trailer.
Oh, yeah.
Which is out there, which is also awesome. So I'm glad that name is sticking.
That was good.
But
that was fun.
So all right, well, Kyle Steele needs to get off his ass and get this marketing going for this, so he can get some clients down here and get his drum kit all set up and all that good stuff. But
hopefully.
Thank you for being on the first
episode
ever
Thanks for having
me. Of Hometown Pipe Dreams podcast. I don't remember the name because it's so fresh and new. So I'll catch up with you guys next time. I think we have Kakoa, who is the Flying Hawaiian. He's a local wrestler that was in our last movie, and I was sort of hesitant at first, but guy's awesome. He was a good actor.
Cool dude.
Just all around great guy. So I'm going to be heading up to his place in the Poconos in a few weeks to interview him. So stay tuned for that.